I haven't done a live in a while, and I was thinking about animal tracks in the snow today, which is this really lovely thought that I had. And then I was starting to, as it was getting darker and later, have some heart-wrenching thoughts and just feeling some things, feeling some core wounds that have been wrenching at my heart lately. And sometimes, I make videos to help me and my mood or mental health, because it's always a positive thing when you're creating. So I'm kind of just pushing myself to do something, because maybe something positive will come out of it. Not just for myself, but I don't know. Maybe someone will see this and it'll be positive for you. So the thing I was thinking about earlier about snow tracks, thinking two things. One, maybe more universal. When I see animal tracks in the snow, it's really thrilling to me. And it's just thrilling. It's really exciting. It's really cool to know what creatures, even if I didn't see them, what creatures have passed through somewhere. And I was also thinking about how it's one of those things where it really is an in-person thing. You could see a picture of animal tracks in the snow, or you could see, you could draw animal tracks in the snow, but there is just something really way more intense and connected and magical when you see the tracks in the snow live and in person. It just hits very differently. It feels very differently. Like I said, it's just kind of thrilling. Which brings me to my second thought about animal tracks in the snow. And then I'm going to grab a couple cards here for whoever stumbles upon this or comes upon this now or in the future. My other thought about animal tracks in the snow, which is less universal, but maybe resonates with some, is we'll see if this video dies. It is still Mercury retrograde in the sense of that tail whip. So we'll see if this video gets whipped out. But I think you can say this is just insight or instinct. You could say it's a past life thing. But I used to take these walks in nature, and I call them feather walks. And essentially I would just be attuned. You attune to things, or maybe use the words you attract things, or your body's like a divining rod or an oracle for things. And I just walk in nature and let my body just sense what direction to go, where to go, and it would know when to stop. And it would just naturally, my body would naturally know what direction to move in, where to head to, where a feather would be. And sometimes it would be, okay, you're being directed to an area, stop, and it's appearing before my feet. Or sometimes I would get there, it's again, almost like a little divining rod. It's stop, and I'd have to clear some brush, and there'd be a feather waiting there. And I was thinking about that again today because of how just enthralled my little heart is when I see animal tracks in the snow. And I thought, well, maybe it's part of that tracker thing. There's something that excites me with with seeing animals, right? But there's something maybe to that instinctive following, tracking. animals, being aware of like the movement. But like the feather walks, you know, the birds aren't there when I'm led to the feathers, and the animals aren't there when I see the tracks in the snow. But anyway, that's a share that was making me happy earlier, and somebody just put hearts on, and that made me happy. I'm really glad I shared that. So I'm going to do a quick draw of from the Queen Mab Oracle, Fairy Oracle. Do a quick card from that and grab a little extra tasty something with a Lenormand. Nope, with another deck. Let's get a little Queen of the Fairies card. So it says, heart is bleeding. And I think we're also familiar in different areas of our life and different genres and we were raised in, or in film or TV, we've seen like different clown makeup, but it's like kind of a beauty art at this point. You know, it's kind of a beautiful face, slightly mock hearts on the cheek. So the card is 21, heart is bleeding. She looks so happy. Let's see what this one's about. Let's see. Be kind and compassionate towards yourself. Ooh, that's a good message for literally everyone. Heart is bleeding. Be kind and compassionate towards yourself. You have become so invested in an imposing commitment, standard belief, fear, or self-image that you have forgotten to notice or value how your heart feels. First and foremost, tend to your heart. Acknowledge where you are suffering. Be mindful of the ways you are exhausted, inauthentic, or out of your element, or out of alignment with your values. Perhaps you are spending significant time in an environment that doesn't nourish you, or around people who don't actually know you or want you to thrive. I'm sure this is so unrelatable to everybody, right? Or maybe you may be just hiding your true personality or preferences, not just from others, but also from yourself. It may also be the case that you need to take some downtime to rest, journal, and become aware of your true feelings and desires. Once you take the time to listen to yourself, you may discover that you will benefit from major change, such as leaving a relationship, study program, or career, or perhaps embarking on a brand new path. Or you might want to stay where you are, but do so authentically. You need to make some changes in how you show up or interact. I'm going to stop there. I mean, in general, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I know it's not technically winter, but it's winter. I scraped 2 inches of ice off my car underneath snow today. It's officially winter, okay? And winter is, of course, that time of like internal going inward. Kind of like, we want to be cozy and warm. And there's a lot of just like internal grinding or internal stirring. Kind of like where if you're tending to a pot and you're adding in like all these like, different vegetables, different liquids, and we're just kind of like, we're reorienting our internal navigation with the weather. We're reorienting our mind with the weather, right? So we're trying to figure out, what do we add to the pot? And like I said, I'm dealing with some core wounding stuff coming up, and it's really rough. So as I'm reorienting to the weather and the time and all these things, one of the things this card mentions is, be kind to yourself. And we hear that all the time, but if we just say be kind to ourselves, it can really be this very limited very limited thought of like, well, what can I do in this today, in this moment, or whatever. When it's really not that. I think it helps to hold a mirror up to, well, where are we being treated unkindly? Which shows us exactly where our boundaries aren't. Where are, being kind to ourselves. A lot of times when we're burnt out, checked out, like we're not even burnt out, we're just checked out, or we're just like given up, or it looks like we've given up, or we feel like I just want to quit. There's a well-worn path of just this treadmill of unkindness that we've been taking on, absorbing, and sometimes it's, sometimes we're just like chucking a head through the muck, right? Whatever our little muck is, and we don't really stop and take a moment to even look down, really, meaning like observe where we're at, observe how far we've come along, how far we've walked, observe, like literally look down, or look towards ourselves, look in the mirror. I mean, if we're trucking through all this little muck, by the time we stop, when we stop, do we collapse? Do we have energy left to kind of like take our boots off and look at all the crap that's collected from our little muck truck? Like sometimes the first thing we need to do is really just rest and do anything to relax our nervous system, do anything to calm, and see if we can stay in a calm nervous system for not just a day, multiple days. And then we can take off our little muck truck boot and go, okay, well, what have I been walking along with? I think sometimes we pick up things, right? And we're just like, stuff sticks to us. And then it becomes part of our tread. It's just part of our daily walk and our daily thing. But, when you try to remove it, when you try to get in there, you're like, God, where's a putty knife? Do you have a hammer? Like, this is like, it's like the tread's gone, by the time we look at the bottom of our well-worn boots, we're like, God, it's full of this crap. Like, where did I pick this up? How far have I been carrying this junk along with me, But yeah, one kind act towards ourselves is not enough. And if you carry a lot and do a lot for others, it's, 1,000 kind acts to one kind act towards yourself is like, sleeping for half an hour every night. It's that kind of like tear down on yourself, that unlike rest, unlike sleep, can become these hidden things, like on the tread of our shoes that we just walk along with, and we're carrying along, we're like do. And it just feels like, well, I'm not, it doesn't feel like, well, I'm not doing any heavy lifting. When you can't see, like, maybe you go through one, you're assisting one thing after another, and you're like done with one thing. So you're like, oh, that's behind me now. But it's actually still, it's still on your walk. It's still in your treads. You're still taking it with you. And, yeah, it can lead to your heart bleeding. It could lead to some really painful times. And if you are in any painful times, if you also have anything coming up during this season, that's making kind of a rude appearance and is not feeling really nice, if you're feeling like this beautiful child who really kind of just doesn't want to be in the world right now, she'd really like to live in a space and in a place where she can pull back a bit. I feel like all this makeup is kind of like a mask where it's like, okay, I'll put in another day. Okay, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But, you know, how can I feel a little less like myself, you know? That's another thing that can happen when you get kind of lost or burnt out, or you start carrying so many things with you that become your daily walk, just part of you. You can start kind of fading and dissolving into a different identity. It can happen very slowly. But that's why, if you've ever heard the term like mask, like we wear these different masks. Well, we first have to make them, you know, we first have to, and it just happens in life. Like we're like decoupaging a little mask, you know, and it just happens. We start, you know, or you want to use the idea of like a role. Well, we're in this role, we're playing a certain role. And that role starts to put a mask on us. And sometimes we start out doing that as a protective thing, and it works for a time, but that can also cause other people to see the mask that you can't see as clearly. You feel it differently. You just go, okay, this is getting me through. But it can make other people can pick up on that mask, and you could have some pretty negative responses to it. And so it's just another reason, if you are like really butting your head against the wall, if you do wish that you could kind of, I'll keep going, but I can't keep going like I am. Like being you're like, I can't keep functioning like this, like me. And that's how this armor, this masking happens, which again, I mean, everybody does it. It's very natural. But the longer you wear it, maybe you're like, oh, hey, I got through that. I'm in a better place. But you forgot that you made a little mask during that time. And even if you feel like I just pulled through something, maybe you're having a lot of, you might get some pushback and difficult interactions from people. All of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I just got through whatever chapter. And it could be that they're not responding that way to you, but this mask that got you through it, you know, this part of your personality that came online to like be that defense, that shield. And yeah, just kind of a reminder, you know, when we're not okay going forward, when we're like, I can't keep doing this, or when you're just saying like, I'm not okay, and you find, and then you keep going forward, you've probably built up some kind of mask to support yourself, even though your heart is bleeding. Let's get a little fairy tale support. Fairy tales, always blunt. Fairy tales are not like friendly, loving things necessarily. Oh, look, I said that. And we have the gentleman. I'm going to read the gentleman. Look at two little cards. So what can support us? What energy comes in to support us as we go through this? As we go through a time when we might feel like our heart is bleeding. Difficult time. So we have the gentleman. And the number is 28. And it looks like he's holding a goblet. And this particular type of Leonore, I don't even know how to pronounce this type of deck, but it almost makes me think of, you know, like Ace of Hearts and a goblet and a cup. Let's get, what else? And the fish. No, we're not getting the fish. We're not doing fish. We're going to draw one. And the garden. Whoop. All those cards on that. Let's see. Ooh, and the garden. Let's see what this little thing says about the gentleman and the garden. And everything's falling apart. I'm having really weird, like this book. I just picked up this book, and this book is falling apart. I made pasta for my mom earlier, and the freaking pasta shredded. It just shredded when it got. Just having a day where everything is also just shredding in front of me, which is a super fun thing. 28. It's just, this book is just falling apart in my hands. How wonderful. Okay. This book, number 26, falling apart in my hands. Okay, so the keywords to bring in the energy of awareness around any painful thing in your heart right now. Keywords are home, soulmate, man of importance, male partner, masculine influences. There are two versions of the gentleman. This is because many fairy tales often have the peasant becoming a prince or vice versa. The peasant shows up as the hero in The Peasant and the Buffalo and the Tiger. This Vietnamese tale shows how a tiger is outwitted by a peasant. The prince is represented by the Spanish tale of The Bear Prince. Both the gentlemen are archetypes of the before and after transformation that often happens in fairy tales. The peasant defeats the enemy, the tiger, by being smarter than the tiger. While he doesn't become a prince per se, he is celebrated as a hero in the village. The Bear Prince is a prince cursed to wear another face. See, I knew there was going to be something here. Mask, another face, right? So we're going to focus on that. So the prince, the Bear Prince is a prince cursed to wear another face until he can be loved in both his beast and his prince form. The key focus for this card, whether it is the prince or the peasant who shows up, is to remember that masculine influences are at hand. So that's interesting. So since we're doing masks, so the Bear Prince is a prince cursed to wear another face until he can be loved in both his beast and his prince forms. So there's masking in both of these, right? And there's this idea of, so he's forced to wear another face. This idea of you're forced to wear another face. And when we put on a mask and when we're shielding or what have you, we feel that way. We feel like, I don't think it's usually a conscious thing, but we probably feel like we didn't have a choice. It's just what happened. It's what came up. It's what we did to get through, to push through. This persona came online. This is how we navigated the world because it was too hard before. And so we felt like we had to wear this other face. And the idea is in the beast and the human form. So for me, and maybe you're like me, and maybe this is, a common thing, when you feel like you just can't go as you are, or you really just, whatever word you want to say, burnout is not a strong enough word, or you're dealing with deep wounds. For me, I was dealing with, in terms of beast, I was dealing with a lot of anger, and I still am. Like, rage that I haven't felt for a very long time. And talking about having to wear a different face until both the beast and the man are loved. Well, I mean, we are both beast and man, in terms of balanced, unbalanced. And there is an integration that is deeply important, especially when wounding comes up, especially when a sense of injustice or not feeling fair or burnt out, there's an anger that comes up. And at a certain point, any mask or thing you put on to navigate will slough off, will be exposed. Other people will point and see and respond to it for as long as it takes for you to see what you've created and take it off. And underneath is probably a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of anger, what have you. And the necessary thing is you have to really stop, and you have to really go inward, and you have to visit yourself. You have to You have to feel these feelings so you can feel the next thing. So you can love yourself in a way. So basically you can just love those parts of yourself. I mean, it sounds so cheesy, but it's true, you know, so you can experience, like for me, experiencing waves of rage, because it's not just a big choppy sea. There are lulls. And because in terms of the masculine presence, this like, you know, I want to be able to experience these emotions, but still, as myself, provide like a healthy container to experience them in, which means expressing how I'm feeling to people that I feel will understand and give me either an ear, or if I'm already teed up, understanding, you know, not to just not to place myself around anyone where I might easily go quick to anger, might project onto them. You know, sometimes you know, you need a certain amount of seclusion and just kind of like a healthy isolation that lets you relax your nervous system. Let's see, what was the other one? The other one was the garden. I'll look up the garden. And that's number 20. Okay. So the other energy to bring in while you're going through re-navigating, whether it is the weather shift, whether it is, you know, which is like a physical, mental, and spiritual, energetic, everything else, right? So another energy to bring in is the garden. And keywords are friends, festivities, acquaintances, gatherings. From Oscar Wilde, we learn about the selfish giant who has a beautiful garden but won't allow anyone to enter. Seclusion and anger. Here we go. But he refuses to let... Because he refuses to let the children in, the garden remains in winter. Oh. Ho ho. Already can see part of this, right? So... healthy to shut sometimes shut out the whole world and go inward. And if I'm a little angry giant, again, I'm going to be like, who am I letting in and who am I not letting in? Who am I talking to and who should I not put myself around? Where is my nervous system going to be supported, and where is it going to be triggered when I'm already fucking triggered? And so that's kind of seclusion, solitude in a very like healthy way, right? That kind of winter. But you do that so you don't have to stay in that winter recluse space. Because he refuses to let the children in, the garden remains in winter. The giant finally hears a bird singing. When he looks out, his garden is beginning to bloom again because one brave child has crawled into the garden through a hole. The giant learns that having friends is the key to living a good life. Once he has begun to open the garden and his heart to others, he realizes how much he gains from his friends and neighbors. This card reminds us the importance of community. It can indicate a festive time of friends and family gathering. For specific timing needs, this can be a Sunday. Sunday. This card is sometimes also called park. So instead of garden, it can be called park and may feature a public place where people gather. So obviously we're in like holiday season and stuff like that, but that's not necessarily like a festive thing for a lot of people. That can be very triggering. But I like this idea of the one brave child coming forward, because I think that's really what happens and what will happen with me. There's going to be, out of like the deep wounding that I'm dealing with right now, which is really intense, you know, that goes back to childhood. And we have all of these little archetypal children running around that came online when we were very young to help us be in the world, to help us navigate, to help us stay in a family, belong. And you know, when we're dealing with wounding, it tends to go back to the childhood. And so through this healing, it makes sense that, you know, some beautiful little inner children, you know, or maybe one really special one, will know when part of our awareness as an adult, you know, when we come into an awareness and a healing, when something, our process of grieving, right, whatever wound is coming up, we'll feel when there's a point of which, okay, we can take a breath, we can take some steps forward now, and that's like the little inner child that's going to come out when the like the tide subsides. So like when my anger subsides, when I feel like there's some, not just momentary waves of resolution, but when the water starts to really just get soft and the choppy seas have passed, and one of my little inner children, or maybe a couple holding hands, will walk out, you know, and they'll just kind of, they'll be like, okay, we're done on that, you know, we're done looking at that wound. And like the little kid who bravely goes in the giant's garden, you know, it's kind of unlocking that gate, opening that gate. That's like the gate to your heart, opening back up the gate. And instead of right now, like being super selective of who I talk to things about, or you know, then it's more expansive. It's like, okay, well, I'm more settled. I'm more at peace. I don't feel choppy in my heart right now. I can open that back up. And that means being more social and spending time around different personalities, you know? But sometimes when we're really in pain or dealing with something, we can't just be around whoever. It's really important to, you know, protect our heart. And sometimes we have to be that, like Angry Giant. We have to be like, nope, everybody get the fuck out. I'm in winter, and, you know, I need to stay in winter. But instinctively, as we know, to go into that, you know, that sheltered state, we as equally instinctively know when to like unlatch a little gate and be like, okay, it's all right. It's all right. Other people can come in now, you know, and we know it's, yeah, it's like that. It's like a little defrosting. It's a little thawing, right? And our little garden melts, things thaw out, and we wipe, you know, the little icicles away from our eyes, and we're like, okay, back into the world again. Well, I appreciate anyone watching this and just any energy that's being put towards it. And this did uplift me a little bit to do this. Like I said, you know, myself, and I'm sure many other people do videos, do creative things, as like a mental health thing, especially when we're feeling low or in a difficult time, just to move stagnant energy, give voice. Being creative is just really healthy to a really healthy way to break up some of this stagnant energy, the stuck energy, whether it's like just feels like we're stuck, like freezing, like frozen, or different energy points, you know, meridian points, chakra points are kind of frozen up. So yeah, I'm glad I did this. Thank you for anyone watching. I see Troy. Thank you, Troy. It really, it's been helpful, and I hope there was something positive that you got out of watching. Thanks.